challenges impacted workers and concerned members took to LinkedIn to share their stories. More headwinds are hitting budget airline companies. Low-cost airlines keep struggling as rising costs and increased competition from traditional airlines challenge their business model, according to Yahoo Finance. Merger plans are failing, and while budget fares still attract some consumers, airlines need to be, quote, very strongly capitalized to survive. Meanwhile, supersonic travel may be returning after Boom Supersonic's XB1 broke the sound barrier in January, for those of you who are into that sort of thing. Diet Coke has new workplace image. They're putting together the efforts to evolve in that space in recent years from zero-calorie ways to take a break from work to the rocket fuel of machismo, America's working habits. A lot of words to simply say people who are used to a certain workplace image, that's changing, according to what the Financial Times is writing. And many companies are at odds with what the workplace should look like. So we'll see. And that's one of those pieces of information that you guys can use to your advantage. Companies are getting cold feet on IPOs. What's that mean? The U.S. presidential administration was expected to bring a new wave of deal making. Yet market uncertainty and ever-evolving trade regulations have led some tech companies to hesitate about going forward with their initial public offerings, according to the New York Times. While the overall pace of public offerings is ahead of last year, startups like Turo and Cerebras delayed their long-planned IPOs, while hotly tipped companies like Stripe and Databricks continued to raise capital as private firms. And then last but not least, gig workers earned less in 2024. Gig workers for services such as Uber, Lyft, and Instacart earned less in 2024, even as their hours increased, according to Business Insider reports. The pay for Uber drivers fell 3.4%, while Lyft drivers' earnings tumbled nearly 14%. Favor, a delivery service for the supermarket H-E-B, stood out, with workers earning 3.4% more despite fewer hours. Uber and Lyft defended their pay, while Instacart called the report misleading. But if that's what's coming from their individuals, it can't be that misleading. People are saying they're not making as much money. All right, guys, time for a quick break. The number, of course, is 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
What if your limited inventory had unlimited potential? What if your biggest risk was not taking one? What if you could make every move matter? Bank of America's Business Solutions can help bring your biggest what-ifs within reach. Find out how our digital tools, cutting-edge insights, and trusted expertise can work for your business. What would you like the power to do? Visit bankofamerica.com/banking for business to learn more. Bank of America is proud to be the official bank sponsor of FIFA World Cup 2026.
All this year, WCPT is celebrating our 20th anniversary.
The station launched the Progressive Talk format on May 3rd, 2005 as an affiliate of the Air America Network.
And soon began airing nationally broadcast radio programs hosted by Tom Hartman,
Stephanie Miller, Randy Rhodes, Ed Schultz, Rachel Maddow,
Al Franken, Janine Garofalo, Mark Maron,
and even Jerry Springer.
Beginning in 2008, WCPT produced programs hosted by Chicago media fixtures like Dick Kay, and soon after launched the station's longest-running local shows, the Hal Sparks radio program and Out Chicago.
More recently, Jonas Bazito, Richard Chu, Edwin Eisendrath, and me, Patty Vasquez, have been added to the lineup.
WCPT will be marking this 20th anniversary milestone with special features
and a very special event in May.
We'll be announcing all of the exciting details about that soon,
so stay tuned.
And thank you so much
for helping make WCPT
Chicago's Progressive Talk for 20 years.
WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk, where facts matter. Good morning. You're waking up with Richard Chew.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
We're live and ready to hear from you. Text or call us now at 773-763-9278. Same number. Simple as that. Let's get the conversation going on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Hey, guys, welcome back to Choose Using. Good morning, 773-763-9278. Want to hear from you. Going to present you with some things that were part of the weekend that I think will be important for you to hear, but I do want to kind of clean up on aisle 7. The come meet Joan this morning at the Southland Friends of Labor 16th Annual Jobs Breakfast at IBEW 176. The correct address is 1100 Frontage Road in Joliet. Again, that's 1100 Frontage Road in Joliet. We had left off a 0 when it was printed out, so sorry about that, guys. Got a little bit of a cleanup on aisle 7. 1100 Frontage Road in Joliet. Make your way over there. Hang out with Joan and some of the other IBEW folk. Okay, weekend. Lots of things happened. Everything from this crazy event that took place in a town hall in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, where a woman there, a doctor, spoke out in the meeting in a respectful way, and then these goons showed up to try to drag her out, Devin. They weren't necessary. They pretended or portrayed themselves as some sort of security, blah, 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 from this organization called Lear Security. Now, I don't know enough about them. I did make some quick notes. But the point about it is that I want to make is that, you know, dragging folks out for speaking. I thought we were about free speech, and she was respectful. I've seen red hats show up at school board meetings and act a damn fool and not get dragged out. But a woman, a doctor, speaking out about what she feels should be happening with the administration, these goons show up. But what troubled me about this, and I'm not. Don't take this in any way that may sound sexist to anybody. What troubled me about it is watching the people that sat on their behinds and didn't get up and defend them. There's more of us than there are of them, and particularly the guys. There were a handful of guys that I saw in this video, Devin. None of them got off their behinds. So they either endorse this behavior or they were afraid to defend another person. And I'm not going to even say defend a woman, but defend another person who was being taken advantage of for free speech in a public forum. I dare somebody to show up. So they won't show up at an event like that where, take this the right way, no gender bias meant here, where there's some real guys there, some guys that'll get up off their behinds and defend another person being taken advantage of. So I dare y'all to come through some of the things that folks like me and Devin and Henry and Eric Grant show up at. It won't be pleasant because Devin knows some stuff. I make light of that only in the sense that we have to defend each other, guys. And I went to an event this weekend that I was so proud to be in the audience. And I went last year. And that event is a McHenry County Democratic Women's 2024, but this year 2025 kickoff event, Trailblazers and Fundraisers. And it was the keynote speaker was our own Joan Esposito, which we talked about last week leading up to it. And one of the great speakers at the event was Christina Zahorik, who's a state central committee woman from the 11th district, congressional district. She was fantastic. Both she and Joan were fantastic, and I'm looking forward to having Christina on our show. It's always a great event. It's always great to go to an event where there's a common thought and thinking about how we go forward. And I'll give some shout outs to people. Our own, a good friend, Natalie Ziamba, who is a councilwoman in Woodstock, and Mary Mahadi, who is one of the leading voices in the community in McHenry, really, frankly, in Northern Illinois. She's a big voice that does great work for so many people. And Ruth Schifo, who is also there, one of the other leaders. She's a vice president of the organization. Mary is the president. Mary Mahadi, I should say, and then Mary Bishop, who is a secretary, Julie Billimack, Kathy Johnson, Pat Lawler, and of course, again, Natalie Ziamba. A great group of leaders that just happened to be trailblazers and fundraisers and women. And it was an honor to be there. I think there were maybe 2 or 3 other guys that were there, other than the young men that were working there. So it was I was in rarefied air amongst all these wonderful, wonderful women. So thank you for inviting me and for allowing me to be part of the event. It was an honor to be there. And then I had the opportunity Saturday evening to go to a performance which is who one of our guests will be this morning, that my wife and I went to. And by the way, kudos to my wife as well, because she was also in attendance at the event in McHenry. So I can't forget about her. And she's made her good friends with the McHenry County Dem women. So that's awesome. We had a chance also, Devin, to go to a performance at the Timeline Theater, which was the debate, if you all remember, of James Baldwin and William F. Buckley. It was a great performance, and we'll be talking with the artistic director, later in the show. But another wonderful event talking about social issues that we all have to be leaning into. So, again, kudos to the ladies up in McHenry County, and thank you for inviting me to be a part of it. And great keynote speech from Joan Esposito, and a really just firebrand message from State Central Council committee woman, I should say, Christina Zahorak, who was just nails. I had in this conversation that we all have been paying attention to, that being diversity, equity, and inclusion. Being in the environments that I was in this weekend, particularly up in McHenry, you had a chance to see what just strong leaders do. They lead from the front. They take the hits, and they get back up and they go again. And we had a chance to we meaning my wife and I had a chance to get together with a friend of ours who is an airline pilot and a captain. And so shout out to our captain, Cynthia, and I'll stop there in terms of names, but and her wonderful husband, Pete. So we had a chance to get together for lunch after this event up in McHenry. And why is this important? She shared a story that I thought needs to be repeated and talked about here on this show. In the midst of this conversation around diversity, equity, and inclusion, also known as DEI, there's so many people who are throwing all kinds of garbage at anybody of color or any woman or any person of the LGBTQ community about how they got to where they are, whether it be in corporate America, whether it be in public service, and the list goes on. And we saw just a disgusting example of this awful person that's in the White House and his committee of fools getting rid of some of the most celebrated military leaders this weekend, and yet he cares about our troops. One of the things that my better judgment says is that I have to hold my tongue. But this morning I'm upset with the dumb A's in the country for electing this guy because of the numbers of people who didn't get to where they are because of their didn't get to where they are because of the color of their skin or their gender or their community, but in spite of the pushback and the fight and the hurdles and the spikes in the road, on and on and on. And to see how this administration just and their band of fools just recklessly would ruin the careers, take away the careers of people who earned their stripes, literally, for some punks that don't know what the hell they're doing is absolutely disgusting. I'm glad in some ways that there are people in other countries that are laughing at us, because this is what Eric Grant, to use his words, often says: America's been putting this behind whooping on pause for way too long. And this is the kind of behind whooping, I won't use the other word, although we can say it, And the country's just deflected and kicked the can down the road in terms of fixing its internal problems. And this is one of them. So why do I introduce this as it relates to my friend Cynthia, who's a pilot? She shared a story about they had landed, and we get ready to get off the plane, and we see the pilots. And one of the passengers' parents, a parent with their daughter, walked up to her, as I'm giving you the edited version of the story, and was all gleeful and excited, and just like her daughter to get to see a woman that was a pilot, that had flown the plane, that had gotten them, safely to their destination. And, my friend Cynthia was extraordinarily proud of that moment. And the reason that for me it had a double amount of resonance is it's about representation. Because the first thing I asked my friend is, was the girl, what was the girl's demographic? And she said she was a little white girl. And I said, oh, so she didn't see color, in the sense that my friend Cynthia is a woman of color. And that's what hit me. She saw, this young girl and her mother saw a female pilot. They didn't see her of color or of community, they saw her of community, but not of culture. And to me, that's the point about representation. This little girl saw a woman pilot and was in awe of that. And that's the story. That's what the women up in McHenry are trying to talk about. It's about representation. My friend is a trailblazer. These women in McHenry are trailblazers. That's what it's all about. It's not about, and trust me when I tell you this, to all the men out there who want to go through all these different gymnastics about, a woman this, a woman that, even some of the guys on the left and in the center, but certainly those that are part of the redhead crew. I know how hard my friend Cynthia worked. I know how hard she studied. I know the sacrifices that she made to become a pilot, and not one damn bit of it had to do with somebody giving her something. I know for a fact, Devin, from the tears that she shed with my wife, and the list goes on, of how hard it has been for her as the pilot, period, just to go through the rigors to get to the point where she can fly the big aircrafts. And then add on top of that the community and culture that she's a part of. So don't tell me, maggots, and even some of the people who are kind of mealy-mouthed on the left or in the middle, that it's about giving somebody a doggone thing. She earned those stripes, literally. I've been a part of watching her do it. And to see that it was a little white girl that was so excited to see a female pilot, that tells you that it's about representation. That tells you it's about trailblazers. And so, again, I am proud and honored to know her. I am proud and honored to have been a guy that got to sit in a room full of extraordinary trailblazing women in McHenry County this weekend. So thank you, ladies, for letting me be a part of your world. Number 773-763-9278. We're going to take a quick break. This is Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
WCPT Replay.
I am very pleased to welcome to our airwaves Ed Yanka of the American Civil Liberties Union of Illinois.
We are the American Civil Liberties Union. We have no intention of moving to Canada. We're here for the fight. And if the administration wants to try to start stomping all over people's individual rights and liberties, we're not going to go quietly on that. And the thing that gives me hope about that, Joan, is that it's not just us. It's not just the lawyers or the lobbyists. It's not any of those folks. It's actually people from all over this country who don't want the kind of world that, some of our friends on the right sort of envision. And in fact, the Constitution doesn't permit it.
Keep listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Partial sunshine develops here for today. We'll see high in the mid-50s. Winds out of the southwest around 10 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 30. And then for tonight, a slight chance for some rain, cloudy, a low near 35. Tuesday, mostly sunny, high 52 degrees. Wednesday, chance for rain, high around 53. By Thursday, partly sunny skies, a high of 45. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 41.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
It's Chew's View with Richard Chew on WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Hey guys, welcome back to Chew's View, 773-763-9278. I forgot to do one thing, and that's give my man Devin a morning shout out. He's, again, we give our engineers praise because they work their behinds off. They're here at crazy hours, making sure stuff is working right. They carry around a bucket of tools and duct tape and super glue and a lot of moxie to fix things and keep us going. So, Dev, thanks, man. I know you're always making things right for all of our shows, and we appreciate you. So, listen, the reason I wanted to lean into what I said about representation is I know that this is how I know representation is so incredibly important, but a lot of our, quote, straight white Christian men in America can't admit it. It's because of if you think about one of their justifications for wanting to have things be back the way they were, is because that's about the representation of having a white dude in the white men in positions of power. It's about representation. It's not because they do a better job. The majority of the wars across the planet have been initiated by men, white men, not white women. Certainly not by black women or women of black African heritage, or women of Latin or Mexican or Jewish or Muslim or Asian heritage. That's a fact. That's not my, anecdotal statement. So to that end, representation is strong. It's so important because you see it every day. That's why, this MAGA white symbol has become so important to the MAGA crowd. They want to see white dudes in power. But what I was reminded of this weekend strongly is there are strong women. Not that I ever need to be reminded of this, but when you are every now and again, let me put it to you this way. Let me sort of change the way I want to present this. Every now and again, guys, put yourself and I'm speaking to men of all communities, put yourself in a scenario where you're not the majority. Put yourself in a scenario where you are the minority, and let yourself breathe that in. Let yourself take that in and appreciate it. And then you'll see the brilliance of somebody other than what you see in the mirror as a guy. So put yourself in a community of strong women. Go to a woman's event, support a woman's event, and just sit down and shut your mouth. Listen, take notes. Let the ladies run this. Folks of my Caucasian brothers and sisters, put yourself in a situation where you are the minority. Just go there and listen and learn. Take notes and see what it is you can pick up to make you stronger, better, smarter, faster, and more humble, frankly. I've often said this to folks that, folks that live in a community that's predominantly white. Go to a community that's not bless you, Devin, that's not predominantly white. Go hang out in a black community all day. Go shop at nothing but stores that are in a black community or Hispanic community or an other community than what you normally do. Go do that. They ain't going to hurt you. They're not going to harm you. If anything, they're going to look out for you to make sure you're okay. My point is representation matters. Seeing people that look like the thing that you want to aspire to be matters. And that's why, and I'm going to touch on this a few more times, just so you know. All right. Rachel Bitterkoffer has a great piece. Google her. She has a great piece that you guys should read. It's called Living History, Plenty of Parallels Between MAGA and the Nazi. Nazis. It's a really, really good article. Just Google Rachel Bitecofer. And her last name is spelled B as in boy, Itecofer. Rachel Bitecofer. Great, great piece on the parallels between MAGA and the Nazis. Another really good piece that I read this weekend, and I wanted to read it to you guys. I may record this, Devin, and then play it as a piece that I really want you guys to hear in terms of standing up to a bully. It's not long, but it's something that I'd rather record and play so I don't get it wrong and not stumble too much. But Mark Elias, Mark M-A-R-C, Elias, E-L-I-A-S. I follow him. He follows me on socials. And I got my hands on something that he posted as a response. And I'll just give you the first couple of paragraphs of this because it's important. I want you guys to Google him and pull him up on X because he posted something that was just really powerful. Here we go. Elon Musk attacked democracy defender and superstar court lawyer Mark Elias as, quote, undermining civilization, taunting him by asking if he suffered, quote, generational trauma. Elias's response was brilliant and worth amplifying. I'll read you the first paragraph or two, and then I want you guys to do a homework assignment and go check this out. Mr. Musk, you recently criticized me and another prominent lawyer for fighting the rule of law and democracy, fighting for the rule of law and democracy in the United States. I am used to being attacked for my work, particularly on the platform you own and dominate. I used to be a regular on Twitter, where I amassed over 900,000 followers, all organic except for the right-wing bots who seem to grow in number. Like many others, I stopped regularly posting on the site because under your stewardship, it became a hellscape of hate and misinformation. One more paragraph and then I'll stop. I also used to buy your cars, first a Model X and then a Model S, meaning Teslas, back when you spoke optimistically about solving the climate crisis. My family no longer owns any of your cars and never will. But it is not the reason I am writing. You don't know me. You have no idea whether I have suffered trauma or if I have how it manifested. And it's none of your business. The piece goes on. It's phenomenal. It is how you punch a bully back. It is how you punch a bully in the face. And Mark does a great job. I might record this and play it so you guys, we can have it as clean as possible if you can't get to the actual posting. And then we'll get it to you because I think it's just strong messaging on how you punch a bully back. Bullies can't stand being punched because they're used to just bullying. So I wanted to share that with you guys because I feel it was important that you know that there are folks out there that are fighting. There are folks out there that are not just taking the hits. They're throwing some haymakers and other punches back, and I don't mean that in the literal sense. All right, in this last little bit, I want to, as we talk about representation and we talk about people that have done great things, I think it's important that, and I've used moments during the month of February, that being Black History Month, to present you with some things that I think have been important to how we see ourselves as Black Americans, but also how others may not see us because they're not aware of certain things. So that's why I've tried to, when I speak about Black history and Black History Month, I've talked about it as American history, but I've also spoke of it in terms of what we've done that have impacted the lives of so many people, and then tied it to what I said earlier about representation. So Devin and I put together a clip that I'd like you guys to hear about Black history is American history.
So the other day I lay down for a nap, and I started to have the worst dream. I rolled out of my bed and my clothes were all wrinkled, but I couldn't iron because Sarah Boone hadn't created the ironing board. I ran to the bathroom to freshen up, but even that was cut short because George Washington Carver hadn't created the soaps and the lotions that I needed. So before I headed downstairs, I went by my bed and looked down to put on my shoes, and then I realized I don't have shoes because William A. Dietz hadn't invented those yet. So I went to the kitchen, decided to make me some toast, got my toaster out, and then I had to think fast because my toaster started sparking flames, but I didn't have a fire extinguisher because Tom J. Marshall hadn't invented one. So then I decided maybe I should just do peanut butter and jelly. I couldn't have that because George Washington Carver hadn't invented peanut butter, and my jelly was warm because John Standard didn't invent the refrigerator. So I stood in the middle of my kitchen eating bread. I couldn't even sit down at a table because Henry A. Jackson hadn't invented the kitchen table. So when I finished, there were crumbs everywhere all over the floor after eating my bread standing up. But I couldn't even clean up the crumbs because Lloyd P. Ray hadn't invented the dustpan and Thomas W. Stewart hadn't invented the mop. By then, I was running late for work, so I rushed out of my house, but I couldn't even set my alarm because Marie Van Britten Brown hadn't invented the home security system. I raced down 3 flights of steps because Alexander Miles hadn't invented the elevator. I got in the car, but I had no clue where I was going because Dr. Gladys West hadn't invented the GPS. I took off driving anyway. I realized I couldn't shift gears or brake because Richard B. Spikes hadn't invented those yet. And since there were no traffic signals created by Garrett Morgan, I came within inches of hitting another car. But thank goodness Henry Sampson invented the cell phone because mine rang and woke me up. A world without black inventors? What a terrible nightmare.
So, representation matters, guys, across the board. Representation, being in groups of people that maybe comment to you or not comment to you, but representation matters. And I saw, when I got this clip, I thought, you know what, this is truly a representation of what Black Americans have done, but it's also a representation of what we have done as a community if we just allow ourselves to see it and to feel it, which is why I say, go to a different community, go to a different part of go someplace that you don't spend a lot of time, and go experience other folks. Because I think that empowers you to then back down the lies when people tell you that these people are this way. When you have your own experiences, say, no, they're not. That's not true. That's not accurate. It's not relevant. And so I wanted you guys to have an opportunity to hear that clip. And if you email me, I most definitely will send it to you because I'm sure that there are many of you that want to be able to have that for your own little library and your ability to pass it on to people that you care about. So send me an email and I'll get it to you. All right, guys, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll grab some of your calls. The number is 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
With MedGuard Alert, you're never alone. You can connect with medical professionals anywhere, anytime. And now MedGuard is introducing our exclusive new Care Watch. If you need help quickly, use it from anywhere to contact medical professionals. No cell phone required. The Care Watch is not only a life-saving medical alert device, it's a revolutionary health monitoring system that checks your blood pressure, heart rate, oxygen saturation, and much more. And here's the best part. If you have Medicaid, you may qualify to get your Care Watch for free. The Care Watch is only available through MedGuard Alert. Call us right now. We have monitoring programs starting as low as $1 a day. The call is free, activation is free, shipping is free, and no contract is required. Remember, with Medicaid, you may qualify to get your Care Watch for free. Call us to get your Care Watch right now.
800-741-5819. 800-741-5819. 800-741-5819. That's 800-741-5819.
You're listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
It's Choose Views with Richard Chu on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Hey guys, welcome back to Choose Views, 773-763-9278. Are we doing okay on the air, Devin? I know on Friday we had some issues. Just got a text saying they're off. They can't hear us. Okay. All right, Dev's going to try to fix that, but should we take let's grab a quick call with Andrew. Hey, Andrew, good morning. Welcome to Choose Views.
Hey, Richard. First thing, I want to echo your thought this morning. Thank you, Devin, and all the other producers for keeping this show on the air.
Exactly.
Right. Okay. As far as this DEI goes, I think the MAGA is just using that as their excuse for right now, because their intention truly is, if you're not a white European and we can't own you, we want you gone.
Yeah.
We want you gone. That's all there is to it. And today I saw on the news that Israel is now sending tanks into the West Bank.
Yeah.
So again, it is just, we can't use you. You won't cooperate with us. We want you gone. We want you annihilated.
Yeah, and the thing with that, Andrew, is that, and I have oftentimes, more than you can imagine, just kind of cut my words off from certain things that I want to say, because I know that I shouldn't do that. But ultimately, that's what's happening, and I think sometimes we can overcomplicate it, but at the same time, we have to be willing to fight if we believe in what we want in this democracy. And so that's why I take the position that I do, is I point out the things that I see and I know that they're happening. They are real. They're not Memorex, to cite a commercial from the 70s. And so for those who have their heads in the sand and think that this is not about that, then you've been fooling yourselves, and we've been yelling and screaming. One of the things that I was reminded of on Saturday, Andrew, at this McHenry County Democratic Women's event, is those ladies there do not have their heads in the sand. They are standing up, shoulders back, ready, not just ready to fight, but fighting currently. And I was reminded of that because of the numbers of people who aren't willing to sit back or lay down and take it. They're looking to fight. And there are women of different groups all over the country that are taking this position. This happens to be a local group or local political organization and all that. But there are women that are standing up and saying, no, we're not going to be ruled by, this so-called the vaunted straight white male, Christian male in America. But to your point, it's happening in other parts of the world, in terms of, controlling the people that are going to be in certain areas. And that's what we all have to fight against, and we have to fight for, to make sure that we're pushing this democratic democracy thinking forward. And I'm going to lean in until my shoulders give out, and I don't plan on them giving out too soon.
The best thing that ever happened to me, Richard, was moving to Detroit. I'll tell you, it changed my life. The idea, living in a different culture, the best thing. It is just the best thing. I did not know what it was to live in a non-white culture, and my God.
And to be cared for and looked after, and all the things that one might assume that would be missing if they weren't in their dominant culture. But the minute you were part of another culture, you realized, hopefully, depending on where it is, and you made it more specific, Andrew. So I don't want to take away from that. You did not have the luxury, but you had other luxuries of being in a culture of other people, and that's a beautiful thing.
It is. You learn right away, too. I had white privilege, and I did not know it. I don't think I've ever used it, but just the idea that I had white privilege.
Yeah.
It's horrible. It's just horrible,
But the thing too that I have to say, Andrew, is that when people recognize and then they say, well, I'm going to do something about it, those are the champions. And I say that when I'm talking about people who are white folks in America. When they recognize that and then say, I'm going to do something about this, you are the difference makers in that part of this conversation. And that's why I applaud, the life that you lived. And not that it's for me to applaud that, but I know what you're saying. I know where you're coming from, and I greatly appreciate that. And I appreciate your contributions of calling into our show.
Thanks, Richard. Have a great day.
I will. You too, Andrew. Stay safe, and thanks for your call.
Bye-bye.
Bye now. Always good to hear from him. And also that Devin, once again, super glue and duct tape and brains got us back on the air. I guess we had a little bit of a glitch, so thanks, Dev, for that. How do I want to say this? Here's how I'm going to put it. There have been so many people who have been asking, when is the right going to step up? When are the folks on the right going to do their part? When are they going to stop hating and start realizing that this craziness is right in their backyard? It's right in their district. It's right in their state. And we have 2 clips that I'm going to try to squeeze in with Devin's help before we go to the top of the hour. And then we have our guests at 7 and 7:30. And both of these are clips about people who I believe may be the ones that are going to finally be awake enough to go, this is not what we asked for. And we've got 2 clips from the same representative. His name is Rick McCormick. And this is the same town hall, but 2 different clips that I want to play for you guys, relatively short. So Deb, let's go to the first one. I think that's 118 in length. We'll find it together. Then we will.
Taxpayer, and as of this moment, I'm a voter. The reason why I say as of this moment, because I'm also a married woman who took my husband's last name. This means that my birth certificate does not match my legal name. On January 9th, 2025, you joined as a sponsor of H.R. 22 SAVE Act. This means that me and 69 million women like me who have taken their spouse's last name will not be eligible to vote. I want you to look me in the eye and tell me why you are trying to take away my right to vote.
This bill is going to take away 69 million people's right to vote. I disagree.
Every news outlet that is reporting on this are saying that it is going to make it incredibly difficult for any woman who has a married last name to vote. It is a voter suppression law that you signed on as a sponsor of, and I want to know why you're scared for me to vote.
Okay, it goes. The clip that segment it lasts about 7 minutes. I wanted to get the first pieces of that out to you guys. Here's the second part, or the second clip that we have as part of the same town hall.
Tyranny is rising in the White House, and a man has declared himself our king. So I would like to know, rather, the people would like to know what you, congressmen, and your fellow congressmen are going to do to rein in the megalomaniac in the White House.
When you talk about tyranny, when you talk about presidential power, I remember having the same discussion with Republicans when Biden was elected. The funny thing is, you're sitting here and a lot of you would probably say those January 6s who are yelling just as loud as you, who are upset just like you, and not listening.
Hey, let's restore some order. Let's restore some order. Hey, let's restore some order.
So
Stop
yelling at me is not going to get any answer, okay?
Hey,
like I said, we're not going to yell.
Point of order. Hey,
let's
get through this, Congressman. Hey.
Yeah. I've seen Game of Thrones too. Thank you. Let's go ahead and move on, because if you're not going to listen, to the answer, we might as well not discuss it, right? Do you want to hear the answer? If you'd stop yelling, I will answer. Otherwise, we'll move on.
What are you going to do?
If you would stop talking for a second, I will answer your question.
Okay, guys. So that's a lot. There's a lot to unpack there, but then there's really not a lot. And what do I mean by that? There's two observations. We'll talk about this through the course of the rest of the show and all. The sort of talking down to your constituents in a town hall is really not cool. You don't talk down to people, and you don't sort of threaten them with walking out or threatening them with I don't have to be here, or if you don't do it this way, here's what it's going to be. You don't do that. That's just, you don't do that with in any meeting. You take the hits. You have the guts to just take the hits and let people say what they have to say and be respectful. And he was clearly not respectful. And this was this sort of, I'm in charge, I'm the guy, I get this. And what, again, was disappointing to me is the guys that sat there and just sort of like didn't stand, because there was two women that spoke up. Two clearly Republican women that spoke up. But the guys that sat there and didn't say a doggone thing, that's what that one. And I hear this sort of, the strong MAGA men, and I'm seeing these guys sitting there with smiles on their faces like, where are you guys? So I have a couple of comments on this. First of all, thanks to the ladies there that stood up. What I'm hoping is, and I'm hoping from a practical standpoint, not a glowing standpoint, I'm hoping that is going to resonate through districts throughout the country. I really, really, in my deepest of hopes and prayers, go that direction. That's going to resonate. That kind of energy is going to be the thing that comes from the Republican districts in the country. I know some of you are saying, Richard, you've lost your mind. These people they're way gone. I get that. I'm not denying that. So don't think I've lost my mind. But that's what's going to change. I was talking to, I'm drawing a blank on her name, but I was talking with the woman at the event on Saturday, and I said, it's going to take those kinds of MAGA, right, white Republicans to do the work to change and fix this. It just is, y'all. We have to do our part, and we're going to. But those are the people that are going to have to go, I got severe buyer's remorse, and I got to get involved right now. Because House members, as well as Senate and the White House, have got to hear that on a regular basis from their own communities. And if they decide to not do anything or treat people that way, then they need to be voted out by those same districts. All right, guys, 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
You know that you can listen to Chicago's Progressive Talk on WCPT AM 820. Stream us live at WCPT820.com and on the TuneIn Radio app. Or you can ask Alexa, Siri, or Google to play WCPT from TuneIn. But now you have another option. We're simulcasting our programming overnights, 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. on WSBC AM 1240 for a clearer reception in and around the city. Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820. And now overnights on WSBC 1240 AM, where facts matter.
If better health, more energy, and detoxing your body are some of your priorities this year, get Active Liver today. You can find Active Liver in stores at your local CVS or online at Amazon or NewNordicUSA.com.
AP News. Good morning, I'm Ed Donahue. President Trump is pushing Elon Musk to do more to cut costs with Doge.
He's doing a great job. We love Elon, don't we? Is that guy, he's a character.
Musk has set a deadline, midnight Eastern time, for federal workers to explain 5 things they accomplished at work last week. He's threatening to fire anyone who does not respond. But some agencies headed by Trump loyalists have told workers not to comply. Lawmakers in both parties say Musk's mandate may be illegal, while unions are threatening to sue. At the Screen Actors Guild Awards last night in Los Angeles, Jane Fonda received a Lifetime Achievement Award and mentioned President Trump, not by name.
We mustn't for a moment kid ourselves about what's happening. This is big time serious, folks. So let's be brave. This is a good time for a little Norma Ray or Karen Silkwood or Tom Joad.
Joad is a character played by Fonda's father Henry in The Grapes of Wrath. The Vatican says Pope Francis woke up and was continuing his therapies after a quiet night. He's been in the hospital for 10 days in Rome for a complex lung infection that has provoked the early stages of kidney failure. More than a dozen Western leaders are in events in Ukraine today, marking the 3rd anniversary of the country's war with Russia. Many are pledging more military aid in a conspicuous show of support for Kyiv in uncertain times. One person was killed in an avalanche in central Colorado, marking just the latest fatality stemming from avalanches in the western U.S. Cartons of frozen shakes sold to nursing homes and other institutions are being recalled after an outbreak of listeria linked to the products. The CDC says some 38 people were infected with listeria, including 11 who died. This is AP News. Germany's mainstream conservatives won the country's national election,
while a far-right party has surged to become the nation's second largest. That's according to provisional results following Sunday's election. After claiming victory, Friedrich Merz thanked supporters, adding he would approach the tough task ahead with the utmost respect. Alternative for Germany, or AfD, had the strongest showing for a far-right party since World War II. Merz's Conservatives won 208 seats in the 630-seat Bundestag, while the AfD won 152. The three parties in the former governing coalition lost seats, with the centre-left Social Democrats falling to 120 seats and the Greens to 85. The election comes as Germany and the rest of Europe grapple with the new Trump administration, the Russia-Ukraine war, and security fears across the continent. I'm Lawrence Brooks.
I'm Ed Donahue, AP News.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Partial sunshine develops here for today. We'll see high in the mid-50s. Winds out of the southwest around 10 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 30. And then for tonight, a slight chance for some rain, cloudy, a low near 35. Tuesday, mostly sunny, high 52 degrees. Wednesday, chance for rain, high around 53. By Thursday, partly sunny skies, a high of 45. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 39.
T-Mobile 5G home internet keeps getting better. Get our fastest connection loaded with benefits. Get T-Mobile's best home internet starting at $55 a month with auto pay and any voice line. Plus, Price Lock. We won't raise your rate on internet. Check availability at T-Mobile.com/home internet.
Exclusions like taxes and fees apply. Guarantees regular monthly rate plan price of fixed wireless 5G internet data with qualifying service. After $15 bill credit with postpaid voice line plus $5 a month without auto pay with debit or bank account. Regulatory fees included for qualifying accounts. $35 connection charge applies. Speeds vary due to factors affecting cellular networks.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chew. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that will focus on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chew.
So in case you just woke up and you didn't know that Choose Views was on, yeah, we're here. So for the folks that were here the first hour, we're back. And those who just woke up at 6:59, we're on. So welcome to Choose Views. Thanks for being with us this morning. We had a little glitch, and Devin did what he did. He threw on his other pair of roller skates, rolled to the back, climbed a ladder, shook a couple things, plugged this one in, unplugged that one, and we're back. So good to be with you guys. So today on Live, Local, and Progressive, tune in between 2 to 4 to hear the Southland Friends of Labor 16th annual jobs breakfast panel that Joan Esposito will be recording this morning at the IBEW 176 in Joliet. Then from 4 to 5, Patty Vasquez will be here kicking off a special 3-hour broadcast of Driving It Home from 4 to 7. Patty's guests include Patrick Cortelyou, chairman of the Democratic Party of McLean County, Illinois, and positivity expert Jen Zanotti with some Motivational Monday advice. Tomorrow on this show, I'll be joined by Derek Black, an expert of education, law, and director of the University of South Carolina's Constitutional Law Center, and Rebecca Shee, CEO of the American Business Immigration Coalition. I'm looking forward to talking to both of those guests tomorrow. Check out our podcast here at Choose Views podcast, I should say, featured interviews, and you can find recent conversations with public citizens Elizabeth Beavers, Democratic strategist Mike Nellis, Illinois Comptroller Susanna Mendoza, and the list goes on of great interviews that we've been able to do here with great guests here in our area. So check them out. And then make your way over to our show page, which is Choose Views, and get the rundown on what guests are joining me for the week. And again, the full episodes. You can also just say, hey, tune in, and I should say go to tune in to listen to us, and most definitely make your way to heartlandsignal.com. So over the weekend, like I said, I had a wonderful opportunity to hang with some really cool, smart folks up in McHenry County. But I also had a chance to go and see a performance that really leans into one of our historical events that in many ways may have changed the course of public discourse in America. Certainly it changed the views of many people when it comes to one of the greatest writers of all time, and that would be James Baldwin. And we're talking about the debate that took place in 1965, February 18th, 1965. And that was to an overflow crowd at the Cambridge Union in Cambridge, England, to witness a historic televised debate between James Baldwin and William F. Buckley. Baldwin was a leading literary voice in the civil rights movement at the time in the 60s, while Buckley was a fierce critic, I would say, of America's most influential and one of the country's, I'll say, most influential conservative intellectuals, I guess you could, if you want to give him that label. This was talking about the racial conflicts that were taking place in America, and the two of them put the gloves on and went after it. So I had a chance to see a production of that on Saturday at the Timeline Theater at DePaul. It was fantastic to be there. Wonderful performance. This morning, however, we have with us the artistic director for the Timeline Theater, and that would be none other than PJ Powers. Good morning, PJ. How are you?
Thanks for having me this morning.
Good. Make sure, can you hear us okay?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, good. You had a little bit of static when you first came on. So.
Oh, okay.
All right, good. Man, listen, let me just dive into the deep end of the pool. What a great performance by all of the performers on Saturday. And I'm old enough. I was alive. I'd been here for a few years when the actual debate took place at the Cambridge Union. But as part of my history and learning and schooling, I became aware of it as I got older and saw the old, recordings of it and listened to them. One of the things that I took from the performance on Saturday, is that the number of people who were there that were blown away by the stylistic way that you guys put this together. So describe, if you can, how you put this together, the way in which the set was designed, if you will, and in this very live, almost interactive performance.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. So Timeline Theater has partnered with two other organizations for this, a company out of Brooklyn called the American Vicarious, who had first created this show to basically reenact the debate from 1965. And then we also partnered with my alma mater, which is the theater school at DePaul University, and they are hosting us, as you mentioned, on their campus. And part of that was logistical, because Timeline is currently building our new home in Uptown. So this year we're performing all over the city. But this was also an opportunity to sort of lean into what makes this theatrical experience so cool and unique. And as you referenced, we're staging it in this old Gothic style grand hall, I guess I would describe it. It's called the Cortelyou Commons building. Sort of nestled in amongst a bunch of buildings near like the Fullerton L stop in Lincoln Park. And it's just this grand hall meant to replicate what the feeling was like to be in the Cambridge Union 60 years ago. So audience members are all seated in just two rows of chairs in a circle or in a rectangle around the debaters. So you really get a sense of what it might have been like to be packed into that room 60 years ago when when these guys made history. So it is verbatim taken from what the original debate was. And this past week was really special because on Tuesday of last week, we did 2 performances on the actual 60th anniversary of the debate. We did a 10 a.m. show for some Chicago public high school students, and then we did an evening show for broader audience.
Well, you guys, the run was till March 2nd. Is that correct? It's running till next Sunday.
Yep, through this coming Sunday. Yep, there's six performances left. Tickets are going fast.
Well, I'm gonna do my little plug for it, and that is, you guys, you want to see this. It's the debate. Baldwin versus Buckley will be presented at DePaul University's Cortelyou Commons, located at 2324 North Fremont, here in Chicago's Lincoln Park neighborhood. If you can get tickets, you should go see this. And just Google, that's the great thing about Google, is you can find what you got to find. But make sure that you guys, if you can get out to see this, that you treat yourself to it for a couple of reasons. One of them, the historical importance of it as to where we are today. The other part is the unbelievable performance. And unbelievable is not the right word. These guys are talented performers, and they were phenomenal. And it always kind of humbles you. And I know you, as an artistic director, probably even see this in your own working with so many artists. But it humbles a person when you see someone that can stand in front and perform like these 4 gentlemen did, and particularly Teagle and Eric. Talk a little bit about them and working with them, their skill set, what they bring to this conversation.
Yeah, well, thank you. Yeah, so these two actors, Teagle and Eric, who play Baldwin and Buckley, and then they're also joined on stage with 2 students who are actual fourth-year theater school students at DePaul, because at the original debate 60 years ago, there were 2 Cambridge students who sort of kicked off the debate, framing the conversation. And so we're doing the same thing here and using actual DePaul students. But Teagle and Eric have now been embodying Baldwin and Buckley over the past 4 years, performing this in New York and London. They actually performed it at the Cambridge Union, and have been taking it around the country. But Timeline brought them here to Chicago for what is the longest run that they've done thus far. So it's been running for the past 4 weeks, and as you mentioned, it's got 1 week left to go. And, you know, I will say Teagle and Eric and the director, Christopher McElroan, specifically didn't set out to do impersonations of Baldwin and Buckley. I mean, you definitely get a flavor of who those 2 guys were, but you know, their approach was really to use their words, use their arguments, and, you know, put them in the mouths of contemporary artists to see how those words still resonate 60 years from now. And that's, you know, I think been one of the big takeaways from audience members, just the shock and bewilderment that their arguments, Baldwin's in particular, depressingly still resonate all too much 60 years later.
Yeah, I think that was one of the common post-performance comments from the audience. I know myself, when I had I made a few comments post the performance about one of the lines in the performance is the progress, or the lack of progress, if you will, without spoiling it for people who haven't seen it. And it's the thing that I commented on is, here we are, it's 2025, and these conversations about progress in our country, we're still having many of them almost to the letter of the word, and that we've just been a country in many ways, and all of our greatness, of wash, rinse, and repeat some of the same old isms that we just won't break away from. And when you think about it, with regard to one of the things that Eric spoke of, he said that, Eric Miller said that as the one that was performing as in the Buckley role. He said that we, to your point, PJ, are still having these conversations. And if you don't believe it, just look at how some of the current journalists or voices are still saying some of the same things that Buckley said, 60 years ago. And he put out the fact that Tucker Carlson is even named his son Buckley, one of his sons Buckley. So, we still repeat these same conversations, and we haven't made the progress in so many ways that some groups would like to say that we have. And that Buckley put this in his conversation, that look at all these things that have happened to the Negro, and yet the Negro is still failing. Whose fault is that? You guys should, if you can get out and see it, it will be good for you. Those of the folks who are progressives and those who are not, to understand where we have come from, but maybe not as far as sometimes we like to window dress that conversation. And your guys did such a wonderful job of that in the performance that we saw on Saturday.
Thanks so much. Really appreciate it. And, this really gets at the heart of what Timeline's mission has been for 28 years. It's to connect past with present. So all of our plays explore history really as a way to spark conversation about social and political issues in the here and now. And I'm sad to say that this debate from 60 years ago, hits that sweet spot, because it is very much about the here and now.
It is. And that was what came so much of a haunting reminder to me that, and I know this because I talk about it every day, and I read and research on it every day. But it's also part of what I've said to so many people, that we don't. The conversation that I've had often with folks, and the phrasing that I've used so many times is, people have said, I've made this comment, there are monsters in the closet. And people have said, no, Richard, there's no monster. Look at all the progress we've made. Look at all the great things that we've done. And those things are true. And then I've said, now the monsters are under the bed. People, well, no, Richard, look at this, look at that. And then now the monsters are in bed with us. And going back to something that was part of the debate, part of the performance, is no, these things aren't happening. Look at all this. Look at these scenarios where we have this, one person that does such great things in the black community specifically. How can black Americans say that we haven't made progress? And this is one of the conversation points in the debate between Baldwin and Buckley, is that just because you have me, because Buckley tries to say, James, you should be ashamed of yourself, because here you are, this representative of successful Negroes. How dare you say that we have we've killed the dream of America, because you are a representation of the success of blacks in America. And it's just a real interesting, interplay and dynamic back and forth between these two. We have a couple of clips, PJ, that I'd like to play. We've got the time. Great. I'd like the audience, if you're okay with that, to hear a couple of clips from the performance. Is that okay?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. All
right, we're going to go forward with those. Evan, you got those? Let's actually go with Buckley first, and then we'll do Baldwin second.
Let me urge this point to you, ladies and gentlemen, which I can with authority. Tonight it's the only thing I can. And that is to say that in the United States, there is a concern for the Negro problem. Now, if you get up to me and say, is it the kind of concern that we, the students of Cambridge, would show if the problem were our own? All I can say is, I don't know. It may very well be that there's been some sort of a sunburst of moral enlightenment that's hit this community in such a way so as to make it predictable that if you were the governors of the United States, the situation would change overnight. I'm willing to grant this, Mr. President, as a form of courtesy. But meanwhile, I am telling you that the engines of concern in the United States are working. The presence of Mr. Baldwin here tonight is in part a reflection of that concern. You cannot go to a university in the United States, also presumably governed by the Lord Spiritual, as you all are here, in which Mr. Baldwin is not the toast of the town. You cannot go to a university in the United States in which practically all other problems of public policy are not preempted by the primary policy of concern for the Negro. In fact, I challenge you. Name me another civilization, anytime, anywhere, in the history of the world in which the problems of a minority who's shown considerable political and material advancement is as much a cause of dramatic concern as it is in the United States. Because if one thing I can tell you, Americans are not willing to do, they're not willing, as a result of the exasperation of Mr. Baldwin, to say that the entire American proposition was an unfortunate experiment.
So that is what we, yeah, great performances by the way, guys who are listening and following. You need, if you can go see it, great. Make sure you can kind of get yourself out. We've got still a week left, but that just goes back to the point about how I'll break it down in my language. You got one Negro that's successful in getting all this attention. Why are you screaming and yelling about what others are not getting? That's really let's filter through all the fancy language and let's cut to the chase. That, you know, you women, you LGBTQs, you Muslims, Hispanics, and Negroes need to shut up. You got a few that have made it across the finish line. Why are you still whining and complaining? That's the cut through the filter. That's the cutting through the fog, I should say, of what Buckley didn't have the guts to say. Frankly, would you agree or disagree?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you know, his phrase, the engines are working, and you know, you referenced Tucker Carlson earlier. Yeah, you just have to close your eyes and hear the talking heads of today. Like, well, we don't need DEI programs. We don't need you know, universities having affinity groups. You know, we're in a perfect society. Everything's working. It's breathtaking.
Yet at the same time, there are those who say, but what about all these issues that are causing white men to not prosper and go forward? At the same time saying, you Negroes, you LGBTQ folks, you women, you other communities, you know, isn't that enough?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
let's play the clip of Mr. Baldwin.
It seems to me the proposition before the House, and I would put it that way, is the American dream at the expense of the American Negro, or the American dream is at the expense of the American Negro, is a question hideously loaded. Then one's response to that question, one's reaction to that question, has to depend on effect. And in effect, where you find yourself in the world, what your sense of reality is, what your system of reality is. That is, it depends on assumptions we hold so deeply so as to be scarcely aware of them. A white South African, a Mississippi sharecropper, a Mississippi sheriff, a Frenchman driven out of Algeria, all have at bottom their own system of reality, which compels them, in the case of the French exile in Algeria, to defend French reasons for having ruled in Algeria. The Mississippi or Alabama sheriff who really does believe when he's facing a Negro boy or girl, this woman, this man, this child must be insane, to attack the system to which he owes his entire identity. Well, to such a person, the proposition we are trying to discuss here tonight does not exist. And on the other hand, I have to speak as one of the people who have been most attacked by what we now must here call the Western or European system of reality. What white people in the world, what we call white supremacy, and I hate to say it here, it came from Europe. That's how it got to America. Beneath then, whatever one's reaction to the proposition is, has to be the question: can civilizations be considered as such, equal? Or does one civilization have the right to overtake, subjugate, and in fact to destroy another? Now, what happens when that happens?
It's a brilliant performance. I mean, first and foremost, the original debate in and of itself was brilliant, and it was phenomenal. And all kinds of wonderful, glowing words. However, watching the gentleman perform on Saturday was really a reminder to me of, you know, there's some talented folks out there. So kudos to you, PJ, and to Cortelyou Commons and all the rest for helping to bring this to Chicago. And we applaud you for your, you know, your hard work in that space. But man, what a wonderful performance! What a wonderful performance!
Well, thank you. I appreciate you uplifting it and shining a light on it. And, yeah, you got one more week for people to get out. We run through this Sunday, March 2nd.
That's great. So PJ, I mean, with the work that you're doing, I heard you got a lot going on. What are some of the other events that you see coming your way, and what are you working on?
Yeah, so Timeline, which is now in its 28th year, we are currently building the first home of our own. We had been in residence at a 100-year-old church building in East Lakeview for most of our existence, and we've performed all over the city, but we're finally putting down roots at Broadway and Argyle, 5035 North Broadway. So opening about this time next year will be an amazing new facility that will be a cafe and bar and exhibit gallery and education space and a theater and all of Timeline's operations under that roof with our offices and rehearsal space. But it's going to be a really amazing new venue in Uptown, adding to all the richness that already exists there with, music venues like the Aragon Ballroom and the Riviera and Green Mill. So we will be opening that new home for Timeline in 2026. But between now and then, we've got one more show coming up this spring. We're partnering with Writers Theater up in Glencoe for a brand new play called Daba on Devon Avenue, which is about a Indian American restaurant on that great street known as Devon here. Yeah,
it definitely is. PJ Powers, man, thanks for being with us this morning. Thank you for bringing such a wonderful production of an amazing debate, and I'm really happy for all the work that you guys are doing, and looking forward to being a part of what you're going to have in store for us in 2026. So thanks for being with us this morning. Get out and see the performance, guys. You should treat yourself to this. You should empower yourselves with this, and I trust me when I tell you, it will be one of the best uses of your time, particularly in the current environment that we're in on our regional, local, and national scale politically. So thanks again, PJ, for being on Choose Views.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Have a good one.
I will. You too, man. Take care.
Thanks.
All right. So, guys, I see your text messages, and I will do my best to try to reply and respond to them while we're on the show. But we're going to grab some calls after this break. The number is 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
This is a WCPT 820 Heartland Signal News Minute.
There's one thing that I've learned as governor. There are no magic bean fixes. And each year there's some difficulty that requires us to work hard to overcome it.
That's Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker delivering his State of the State address.
This year the surfacing difficulty is Donald Trump's and Elon Musk's plan to steal Illinois' tax dollars and deny our citizens the protection and the services that they need. I want to offer you a few examples. 20 million Americans, 700,000 of them here in Illinois, will lose health care coverage if congressional Republicans are successful in their effort to cut the Affordable Care Act. And rural hospitals across Illinois will be shuttered. Meals on Wheels programs, which home deliver 12 million meals per year to 100,000 seniors and people with disabilities in Illinois, are on the federal chopping block.
For WCPT 820 and Heartland Signal, I'm Andy Miles.
Are you tired of talking to yourself? We can get you an audience on the radio. You can produce and host your own radio show on one of our 2 stations. Please call 773-792-1121. That's 773-792-1121 and ask for Mark. Limited space available.
Progressive presents Renters MVP's Most Valuable Possessions. Today's MVP, Joe Fallon's bedroom mini fridge. Sure, this pint-sized chiller's max capacity is 3 soda cans, but what it lacks in stature, it makes up in cooling strength. Each beverage a perfect 37 degrees every time. And the 2 feet Joe walks to get a drink, priceless. That's why his mini fridge is today's MVP. Keep your most valuable possessions protected by bundling your renters and auto insurance with Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers not available in all states.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Partial sunshine develops here for today. We'll see high in the mid-50s. Winds out of the southwest around 10 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 30. And then for tonight, a slight chance for some rain, cloudy, a low near 35. Tuesday, mostly sunny, high 52 degrees. Wednesday, chance for rain, high around 53. By Thursday, partly sunny skies, a high of 45. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 39.
Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
You're listening to Choose View with Richard Chu on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Hey guys, welcome back to Choose View, 773-763-9278. Yeah, Devin is definitely, you know that we got you guys know that we are doing a live broadcast right now because Joan is out at the Union Hall. So again, let me just throw that out to you one more time. Meet Joan this morning at the Southland Friends of Labor 16th Annual Jobs Breakfast at the IBEW 176 location, 1100 Frontage Road in Joliet. So just FYI on that. Great to have PJ with us. And if you can, again, get out and see this performance of the debate between Baldwin versus Buckley, Timeline Theater. And that's a production group that's put this together, and I think you'll just enjoy it. I really do. It's some of the texts that I'm getting. In fact, the last half dozen texts that I've received have all referenced or sent me something. So thank you to each and every one of you that have texted this morning. I can't get to all of you right now, but thank you for sending me the links and the things that you have in regards to this Baldwin-Buckley debate and where we are currently in the country. That being said, Dev, let's go to Steve in Des Plaines. Good morning, Steve.
Good morning,
welcome to the
Richard.
show.
Good morning, sir. Yes, I want to we played the clip of the congressional town hall.
Yes.
And I did see that. And let me tell you, it was sweet music to my soul to hear those women. To hear those women get in his face.
Those ladies were they weren't about they were about getting the business, weren't they?
No, it was amazing. I loved it. You know, your comment about the gentleman there. You know, it's interesting. And one day, maybe I'll be in a position. You know who I'm scared of? People I'm scared of most? Black women. They're scary. When they get mad and they get up. You know, they're scary good.
Got it.
They're scary good. Like Jasmine Crockett. I can't. Is that pronouncing her name correctly?
You got it.
They're powerhouses. You know, AOC, a brown woman. You know.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, guys, grow a spine, guys. Grow a spine out there.
Can you imagine?
Come on.
So, Steve, check this out. I don't know if you saw the clip of the guys, the goons in Cortelyou, Idaho, where the doctor spoke up about. At this town hall, and these goons they eventually dragged her out of the place. Can you imagine if AOC or Jasmine Crockett, hell, Maxine Waters, speaking of black women, had been there when that went down? It wouldn't have been pretty, and that's what was disappointing. What was exciting for me about the town hall with McCormick is to see these two women speak the way that they spoke. They spoke from the bottom of their shoes. Mm-hmm. About their frustration, and he needed to hear it, although he didn't want to hear it, and he kept preaching down to him. I mean, that was just insulting.
Yeah. When he mentioned Biden, I knew. Are you a fool?
Right?
Are you a fool? Are you kidding me? And he got the appropriate response right back in his face.
Sure did.
He wanted to go there. He wanted to deflect, and it was beautiful. It was beautiful.
He wanted to deflect, and those ladies weren't having it. My hope, and I say this with wide eyes and being fully plugged in, I'm hoping that catches like wildfire. I don't want anybody to think I've lost my mind, but I'm hoping that catches like wildfire across the country in districts that are red predominantly and starts in a big old blaze.
Yep. Real quick, and I'll let you go. You're talking about the Buckley Baldwin. When I was like 9, 10 years old, there was a show here in Chicago called Cup. Saturday night, it was like Cup.
Yep, Irv Cup's in it.
Yes. And I remember as a young boy, Buckley debating conservatism. And he would get into a thing with there was a liberal writer at the time. I can't think of his name. My gosh, I blanked out here on the radio. But he would get on there. And it's interesting, the actors, and I'm going to get tickets for this play. I'm going to go. I'm going to go. And the actor who played Buckley had that because Bucky had this kind of Eastern patrician, Boston, highfalutin affectation in his voice.
Yeah.
And that actor captures it. It captures it.
They both really do. And Baldwin had a very distinct cadence of speaking as well. These two actors were phenomenal. And what I'll tell you is this, and this is going to kind of go back to what point that you made earlier about folks stepping up. It was an audience of people who were probably more progressive leaning, but what was really interesting is the number of people who were saying that we're still here. This play is about something that was discussed 60 years ago. However, we're still here. So that was the common sort of after conversation of the play. But I'm glad you're going to have a chance to get out and see it.
Yeah, I'm going up. Yeah.
How is studying going, man?
Studying's going great. I got 2 tests on Thursday: the American government and the history of America from the beginning to 1877. And I'm really loving it. And I tell you what, on Tuesday I'm going to make a public announcement in the class about the play.
Good idea.
And, and Northeastern is an inner city, very ethnic.
Yep.
And it's really quite the amazing. How do I say it? A melting pot of students, quite frankly.
And you know what's cool, Steve? And I got to give you your props in this. One of the things that I appreciate about what you're doing is you are doing part of what I said earlier in the show about immersing yourself in an unfamiliar area. I mean, you said it yourself. You had been in school and you had formerly in college years ago. I mean, but you're putting yourself in that cauldron to make yourself better. And in doing that, you're experiencing things that are what have not been common to you for a while. It forces you to open your eyes, to open your ears, and it forces you to grow. And hell, even at, you said too old, but I don't think you're too old. It allows you to continue to grow and be stronger.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, I'll share, this idea about, here I am, a white boy from the Des Plaines, Irish Catholic neighborhood and all that stuff. And it was interesting that when I was in the service, and exposed to people from all over the country, and it was interesting in boot camp, the black guys, we were, back then we had to shine our shoes. We had real leather shoes back then. We had to shine them. And now this is a compliment. I don't know how it come across, but the black guys knew how to do it. They knew how to dress their uniforms. They knew how to fold a blouse behind their back in their shirts.
Yep.
And here we hear all these white crackers from all over the Midwest going up to the black guy. Hey, can you do my shoes? You show me how to do this. How do I shine my brass? I mean, it was beautiful. I mean, I'll never forget that.
It's a great story.
Of course, the black guys are kind of smiling, like, yeah, man, I'll take care of it. It just. It was.
I know.
They knew how to do it.
Well,
they knew how to do it. It was great.
At some point off the air, I'll share some stories with you that I won't share on the air about what you just discussed. But kudos to you for your hard work right now and your contributions. Keep on doing what you're doing, Steve.
Sounds good, man. Good show. Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a good day. Yeah, man, get out. Y'all need to get out and see this play. You really do. I think it'll open your eyes to some things that you may not have been aware of in terms of these two men. But let's go to Mildred and Matson. Good morning, Mildred. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Richard Chu. I called many times before.
Yes, I know.
But I just heard you guys talking about DEI and people and employment. And that just popped in my head. Was I going through a DEI when I got promoted? I mean, it took a long time. And, of course, I'm black, but I've been going after a management job in nursing for a long time. And I still couldn't get hired. It doesn't matter. It didn't matter how many degrees I had. So I said, let me go and I had a bachelor's, so let me go get a master's, maybe I can be director. And they chose, of course, the white woman over me, but she didn't have my degree. She had a bachelor. So I kept on going until I got a doctorate in nursing, and they still didn't want to give me that job, So I did some action, some good action, and I called Springfield because I work for the state. And I said, there's no degree higher than a doctorate. What do I have to do to get a management job when everybody else is not qualified? On paper, it says you must have at least a bachelor in science. I had all of that.
Yeah.
And, of course, it wasn't no black manager in that department of nursing. So they called back. I called to the office. I said, what did I do now? I called to the top. I wasn't having it anymore. I'm ready to stir up some good trouble. You know. And I think I did.
I'm sure you did.
They were bowing down to me, bowing down. First, they tried to stop me from getting my degree because they didn't want me to practice within the facility. And as a state employee, you have access to every state employment place.
Right.
And they were trying to stop me. But they couldn't stop me.
That's right.
I was starting some good trouble. You know, I come from a union background. And I threw some of it at them, too.
Yeah.
Okay? That's
how you do it.
Serious. Oh, my God. Was I going to the DEI? I didn't know anything about the DEI. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. They didn't want to include me.
That's right.
In a management position because I may tell something. Okay?
Well, you know, Mildred, what's so funny about what you're saying, and I love that you're saying and sharing all this with a smile on your face, which goes to show that you've persevered and you've made it through, and you probably brought some people along the way with you, and that's you showed leadership all along. You showed determination all along. Like, I'm not giving up. I'm not stopping here. I'm going to continue to go forward. And it's because you knew that you were skilled and talented. And that's what a lot of people forget about the folks who have to fight the hardest and that continue to fight hard to make a change. And you represent that. And that's something that nobody's ever going to take that away from you, Mildred. They're ever going to take that one away from you.
That's right. Now I'm sitting retired, and living off of them. Getting my pension and everything, because I work hard for it.
Well, you earned it.
It's no apology.
They didn't give you anything. They didn't give you anything. You earned it. You, Mildred, you opened the door with two hands, okay? Let me just that's a phrase my father used to say. You open the door with two hands. You know how to get through things. So you earned all that, and you deserve to be enjoying the life that you work so hard for. The beauty of it, though, as I come back to say this about representation, is that along the way, whether you got credit for it or not, you represented something that people needed to see. And that was someone who was determined. That was someone who was willing to fight and do what you needed to do to make things happen. And that's a suit of armor that you get to wear for the rest of your life. So kudos to you for that.
Yes. Thank you.
You're welcome. You are very welcome.
Everybody continue to work hard and fight. Like who was the legislator? Do some good trouble. Get in good trouble. Right now, I'm still getting in good trouble.
There you go. Thank you, Mildred. Appreciate you.
Using knowledge to help other people.
Yeah. Well, thank you as always. Your contribution is always appreciated here. So thanks, and have a good day, good week here. Okay.
Okay. You too.
All right. Thanks, Mildred. Bye now.
Bye.
A fighter, y'all. Mildred's a fighter. And that's one of the things that we have to remember right now where we are. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll wrap up with a couple final clips for the day. 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views, and we will be right back.
The Democratic Party of DuPage County is celebrating 50 years with a gala event on Sunday, March 2nd. Make your plans to attend this very special event at BOPCA's Signature Events in Woodridge. The program begins at 5:30 p.m. The list of speakers includes Governor J.B. Pritzker, Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton, and several members of Congress. The keynote speaker will be Anderson Clayton, who is one of the rising stars of the Democratic Party. Anderson was elected chair of the Democratic Party of North Carolina at the age of 23. The DuPage Dems Gala funds efforts to defeat extremists in DuPage County and fight back against Donald Trump. Get your tickets now. It's the Democratic Party of DuPage County 50th Anniversary Gala, Sunday, March 2nd at BOPCA's Signature Events in Woodridge. Buy your tickets now before it sells out. For tickets, visit DuPageDemocrats.com. That's DuPageDemocrats.com.
Because facts matter. You're listening to WCPT 820.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chew on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Hey guys, welcome back to Choose Views. Great talking with Mildred this morning, and I really appreciate just her fight. That in and of itself is representation. We started the show talking about my just wonderful opportunity to be up in McHenry with the McHenry County Dems women's event, which was just awesome to be at. And then I shared a story with you from a friend of mine who is representing as a pilot, as a captain, and how a young girl saw her and was elated to see that it was a woman flying the plane. And as a captain, she's running the show. She's the one. She's the big daddy or big mama swinger. She's the one in charge. Head lady in charge. Head captain in charge. Head pilot in charge. And so representation is critically important. And I said I would say it a couple times, but I'm proud and honored to have been hanging out with the ladies up north and then having a chance to chat with a dear friend of mine and her success and watching her do all the things that people say that we don't do that are the so-called DEI recipients. That's not the case. But Mildred represents that as well on an everyday basis. And she's one of those champions that are the everyday champions that are also representations of. I'm certain there's young folks or people that came along after Mildred and people like Mildred all over the country that would bat down what the Buckleys of the world were trying to say. I promise you they're all over the country. And in an aspirational way, and nobody be upset for me putting it this way, I'm hoping that firestorm does catch that Steve and I talked about with regard to the clip we played earlier of the Rick McCormick Town Hall. Share that, guys, with the folks that you need to share it with, to say, listen, we need more of this from all factions. And what I'd like to see more Dems do is, candidly, I'd love to see more Democratic leaders, elected officials, go into Republican districts and have a town hall. I would love to see, and you know, these are just names coming to the top of my mind, the AOCs of the world, the Jasmine Crockett's of the world, and the list goes on. Those are just two that are in the top of my brain, so I apologize. But Senator Warren, Senator Klobuchar, Senator Whitehouse, you know, all roll into a Republican district. Hell, so even though, you know, Ms. Klobuchar is a senator in Minnesota, have her go to a red district, Devin, with a elected official, a congressperson from that state, that red district, and have a town hall in the backyard of a Republican that was elected in a red district. And I said that in a clunky way. I apologize. I'd love to see a Senator Klobuchar get together with a House member from any other state and go to a red district and have a town hall and invite the people that are in that district that voted for the McCormicks of the world. There's a good example. How cool would it be to see Senator Whitehouse show up with AOC in McCormick's district and have a town hall? That's the kind of thing that we need to do in terms of stealing their lunch. I don't mean stealing it, but that's the kind of fight I want to see from our Democratic leaders. Let's go grab their stuff now. And nobody can say to me it's the decorum, that's not the way we play the game. Hell, forget the game. Knock the chessboard over. That's what we have to do as Dems. And I got to give a shout out again to Christina Zahorik, who's a state central committee woman from the 11th Congressional District. I said to her in private, and I hope if she's listening, I hope this puts a smile on her face. I said to her in private, you and I need to go knock some tables over together. Because she definitely is one that wants to knock some tables over. And she broke with the normal decorum of taking the easy route and not calling out what we have to do. And I was really pleased to see that. So why not have some of our representatives, elected representatives, go into red districts and make some noise? Why not? Maybe that's what they want. Maybe those folks in red districts want to see what a Democratic official will say. If McCormick can't answer the questions of those two women, one on the SAVE Act about names and voting and registration and birth certificates. Why not have hopefully there's someone in the Democratic Party that says, hey, let's go into his district and have a town hall and answer that woman's question. How about having a representative go into McCormick's district and talk about this cabal that the other woman asked about that's in the White House? That's what I think when we talk about change and doing things differently and shaking things up. That's the kind of stuff I believe that we have to do. I know that there's this whole thing around decorum, but doggone it, decorum is out the window. And maybe it should be, frankly. We've been sitting on decorum for way too long. I think our elected officials have been. Why not do that? So there is a clip I want to play for you guys, Devin and I put together, that I think it really speaks to something that oftentimes when we have the smart peoples of the world, like the James Baldwins of the world, and we have a performance like that, and we have these great women who are leading, we forget that there are other smart people out there that spoke to the horror that would come from electing Trump and how tariffs really don't work. And I want to leave you guys with this clip, and then we've got one more before we walk away today that I think are important for you guys to understand. We did not elect the smartest group of people. The smartest group of people, oftentimes deemed as elites, they kind of have it right because they think about things and they put together a thought process that many people should slow down and ask, maybe I should look at this a little bit differently. So let's play, Devin, the clip that we have on tariffs and the elite mind.
Donald Trump has claimed that tariffs would bring in significant tax revenue, that tax revenue would come from abroad, and that they would repatriate production, particularly in manufacturing, to the United States. That's impossible across the board. First of all, foreigners do not pay the tariffs. Tariffs are import taxes paid by the importer. One can argue that, well, in fact, the exporters pay the tariffs because they lower their prices by the amount of the tariff. That would presume that the U.S. importer is what's called a monopsonist, a company that has enormous buying power. And if the importer is a monopsonist, you don't need tariffs to beat down prices. In other words, if a monopsonist can say, there's been a 10% tariff, we demand that you lower your price by 10%, they don't need to wait for the tariffs. They would say it now, lower your price by 10% or else. Second, it can either bring in significant revenue or protect U.S. manufacturing. It can't do both. If it brings in significant revenue, it's because we continue to import goods from abroad. That's where the tariff revenue comes from. If it does protect U.S. manufacturing, we don't get revenue from abroad because we stop importing. So it can't do all those things that Donald Trump claims.
There you have it, an elite, a smarty pants person. Telling it like it is, though. That's just economics. It's not rock. That's the thing, Deb. It's not rocket science. And so when I talk about having people, around you who know what the hell they're talking about and who are willing to fight for it, again, like our wonderful sisters up in McHenry County and all the rest, and in different communities. Let's lean into those people. Let's surround ourselves with that kind of understanding. And by the way, that comes from Ben Steil, S-T-E-I-L. He is an economist and part of the Council on Foreign Relations. This gentleman understands how this stuff works. And maybe we should be listening to that kind of person rather than the so-called Elon Musk mindset. We're going to talk a little bit about that throughout the course of this week. I've got some other information and clips that I want to share with you and then have a discussion about who these guys really are. And I think it'll be informative for you guys to hear. But as we wrap up the show today, I've got one little clip that I think is important for you guys to hear. You may have heard it before, but I want you guys to understand, as much as we have to go through this fight, it does make the fight a little bit easier when you surround yourself with people who are going to promote you and be in your corner. And that's one of the things that I experienced this weekend, being with the McHenry County Democratic Women, being with my good friend Cynthia, and, of course, having the opportunity to see the performance. But we got one last clip that we want to share with you before we wrap up today. Surround yourself with good people.
Okay. Everyone's older than me. Everyone's bigger. You don't have to tackle. Bob, listen to me. No, Bob, listen to me. Trust me. Look at me. Look at me, Bob. I'm the shortest kid here. Listen, it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter if you're short, you're young. It doesn't matter if you're tall or hit. It doesn't matter if you're fat. It doesn't matter if you're tall. Bob, you are a brilliant rugby player. You understand that? You're insane. You're actually insane for your age. You're insane. Come on, give me a hug. Best teammate
It's
ever.
all right?
Best teammate.
Really good.
Come on.
Come on. So come on. No one...
In this tough, crazy time that we're in right now, surround yourself with people that are gonna uplift you, that are gonna give you good energy, that are gonna support you, that are gonna find the better part of you rather than the thing that may not be your proudest moments and proudest ways. That's how we get this done, y'all. We have to lean into each other, and I'm gonna demand it of you. I'm just playing. All right, guys, as always, take a deep breath, make your life count. We'll see you tomorrow.
The Sports Cubicle.
Here in WCPT, we're fortunate enough to have the new head coach of DePaul University, Chris Holtman. You have that tough December where you're going to have 2 conference games, and then does that seem like it's going to work for you? Are you going to be having up-tempo, or do you even know that yet?
We are really trying to play with great pace, more so than really at any point in my career. That's something we've really emphasized since the summer.
The Sports Cubicle with Mike Mercado, Devin Tingle, Dan Marver, and Paul Shavari. Sunday nights, 9 p.m. on WCPT.
WCPT replay.
We're going to talk to Renato Mariotti. What are some of the things you would suggest folks do?
I think it's really important to actually get out there and volunteer and contribute and be on the front lines so that you're doing